Now let's welcome our next guest and my very good friend, author and podcast host, Michael Stewart, founder of Crystal Lake Tax and Financial, a retirement income store located just outside of Chicago. Michael, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on again, Dave.
So you just heard we spent a lot of time with Ted and Robert talking about traditional defined benefit pension plans. In your experience, what percentage of your clients actually have the traditional defined benefit type pension that pays them a monthly income every year for the rest of their life?
Yeah, typically about 20% of the existing client base. And most of them have a smaller pension from maybe 20 years ago that they were vested to get a couple $1,000s a year. Unless you were in the unions or worked for the government or were a teacher, those pensions are few and far between.
Okay, all right. So guess what then? With what's happened over the last couple of weeks in the financial markets, I'm going to take those questions, I'm going to put them aside. Let's talk about the 80% of your clients. Let's talk about the 80% that have to manage, let's say, a 401k or IRAs. They thought they were on a growth trajectory since the bottom of the market 11 years ago. That got blown apart in the last couple of weeks with this crazy coronavirus. Interest rates went to a record low. So let's break it into two categories. If I'm under the age of 50, if I'm not part of the income generation, what do I do today with what's been going on in the markets if I'm trying to self-fund my own retirement?
There's really two different things you can look at, Dave. One, if you're still 15 plus years away from retirement, then you can use this recent volatility as a way to maybe increase your savings rate and try to participate a little bit more on the equity side, the market side, while things are a little bit more depressed. Doesn't mean they can't go lower, but you've got time and compounding working on your side. It's those that are within about 5 years or 10 years of retirement that really should take pause right now.
Dollar cost averaging, right? In a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Buying more shares in the markets down, fewer shares in the markets up. And if the president gets his way and he pushes through this whole thing with waiver of the payroll tax between now and the end of the year, then that's another 7.65% that most of your clients could put in the 401k, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just a way to save more in a better opportune spot.
Now, how about our income generation members? We have a minute left in this segment. Over the age of 50, 10-year government bond rate went below 1% for the first time ever. Heck, the 30-year dipped below 1%. 30-year U.S. government bond dipped below 1% interest per year. First time ever in our country. So now, if you're over the age of 50, you're part of the income generation, you want to be more conservative, what do you do?
You really have to do, and we talk about it in our practice, and you talk about it on the show all the time, is as you're approaching retirement or in retirement, what you really want to do is make sure that positioning for income opportunities and not.
And Michael, if that's the president, tell him I'm filming a show right now. I can't take the call, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's someone calling in needing income. Yeah. So what it is really just taking a matter of look at your portfolio and determining how much you need from an income standpoint in retirement. Because really, as you get closer and in retirement, it's less about the growth you're going to get going forward because you really don't have the capacity to take as much risk. It's about getting sustainable, predictable income for you.
And when you take a commercial break, Ray, we come back, I want to ask you more about that topic and how our income generation members can get more sustainable income. So stay with us if you will, Michael. And you stay with us too. We'll be right back here with more coming up on the income generation in just a moment. Welcome back, and let's bring back in Michael Stewart, our very good friend and founder of Crystal Lake Tax and Financial, a retirement income store located just outside of Chicago. Michael, thanks for sticking around.
Glad to be here.
And you take care of that caller's income need while we were taking a break there? You get that taken care of all right?
I did. You were all good.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear of it. Okay, you were talking about income. So people who are over the age of 50, part of the income generation, need to start the transition from growth to income, from their accumulation, their distribution years, from stocks to bonds and bond-like instruments, right? But now all of a sudden, neither the stocks or the bond-like instruments look all that attractive. So how are you explaining this dichotomy, this challenge that a lot of people I'm sure are having when they come into your office and have talked to you about this over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been prevalent with prospective clients, especially the last couple of weeks, but even in our practice, it's been the last few years. It's really about how do we balance the need for potential growth with the immediate need for income in retirement. And we took a look at a lot of, both bonds, bond instruments, things that are paying interest and dividends on a regular basis. There's even some insured options that we use just to kind of, basin the volatility down a little bit. But the key thing is you put that financial plan together is how much risk do you need to take? You take the amount of risk you need to achieve your retirement goals and generate the income that's going to last you, and if you're married, you and your spouse for the rest of their lives. But at the same time, you don't need to take more. I love telling clients that if they've saved enough, they can generate enough income without taking a lot of risk, that they've won the game, so stop playing the game.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, in a nutshell, that if you had yourself set up properly before the market's gyrations over the last few weeks, then you really shouldn't have to make any changes. You should be okay. It's only if you were taking too much risk going into this that maybe you need to do some real damage control. Am I hearing you correctly?
Absolutely. So the recent market volatility and the coronavirus headlines and the slowing economy, all these things are very real. But the individuals that are really getting hurt by those, the ones kind of treating like this as a fire drill or kind of panicking a little bit, are the ones that haven't planned for it properly going forward. You know, one of the things that I pride our practice on, and in dealing with sound income strategies and retirement income generation as well in the retirement income store, is making sure that we're proactive and that we reduce the risk at the time that we need to. We don't wait for all the uncertainty going in the market and then once again have that fire drill where now we've got to panic and make changes. We try to be proactive and address it ahead of time.
And in a nutshell, we got 30 seconds. Do you think that my predictions of us going negative with interest rates in this country is going to come true now after what's happened? And if so, what can our viewers do to protect themselves?
As far as going negative, internationally, we've already seen that for well over a year now. The U.S. At the next Fed meeting, which will probably happen by the time we air here, is we're likely going to zero. So we're not that far off from going negative if things turn a little bit worse.
Yep. Good words of wisdom. Great advice, Michael. Thanks so much for being on the show. Once again, I appreciate it.
Thanks,
you stay with us. We'll be right back in a moment, coming up right here on The Income Generation.